Mr. Kimmelman currently serves on the boards of Calpine Corporation, U.S. Development Corp., USD Partners, Zenova Energy, and Nesco Holdings. He's a member of ECP's Management Committee and Investment Committee. ECP has over 50 billion of equity capital under management and is the largest owner in the U.S. of electricity generation and renewable power assets. Prior to founding Energy Capital Partners, Mr. Kimmelman spent 22 years with Goldman Sachs. He's also the partner of the Miami Marlins Baseball Club, a member of their board of directors, and chairs their finance committee. Philanthropically, Mr. Kimmelman is developing the largest nonprofit community academic and athletic center in the county in Los Angeles in honor of his late wife, and is partnering on the project with Tiger Woods and the United States Tennis Association. He also chairs the board of Laird Academy, a boarding school in New Jersey. Mr. Kimmelman received a BA in economics from Stanford University and an MBA from the Wharton School at University of Pennsylvania. Prior to that, he attended Columbia High School in Maplewood, New Jersey, and grew up in South Orange, New Jersey, and is a father of 4. So just to set it, before we start discussing with Doug, I just want to set the context. So Doug is both an entrepreneur and an investor. So Doug, we spent a lot of time talking about entrepreneurship, starting companies, as well as doing pitches. And I know, I'm sure as an investor, you've heard many companies pitching to you to raise money. And I've told the students that you found the right person when he's mad, and MAD, when he has the money, and he has the authority, and he has the demand. So you want to, in any company I've gone to, I want to make sure I find the right person to talk to if I'm selling something to them or I'm trying to convince them to partner with me. So I think we found Doug. He is mad. So I really thank Doug for doing this and really talking to us. So Doug, just to kick it off, can you tell us what happened? I know you from junior high school to high school.
I'm glad you guy was going to bring that out. That's the most important thing. We went to junior high school together. Yes. And he was so much better than me in like everything, especially math. I tried to sit behind him so I could maybe get the answers there. But those were the days. It felt like yesterday.
Yes, but so I know up to high school. Can you take me through what happened from after high school, and then what led you to actually starting ECP?
Okay. Well, good. I'll back up a little bit. I was born in Irvington, and I grew up on Grove Road, a stone's throw from Seton Hall campus. I kind of looked at the campus. Well, actually, Varsity Road, and then I moved to Grove Road. So mostly Varsity Road in my early years. So I'm like backyard of Seton Hall. I actually one summer went to Seton Hall to get some credits to help me graduate from Stanford. So this is a thrill to get to connect with all of you. So I'm a Jersey guy through and through, and I guess somewhere in me, I always mind is do the opposite. Don't go where the crowds are going. So for me, going to college in California, something different culture. I didn't know anybody, didn't know anything, and hadn't even seen the campus. I didn't know much about Stanford. My parents thought I was crazy. They said you can't go to school in California. All they do are drugs out there. But I said sorry. I'm going. I promise I won't do drugs. And took a bus from San Francisco Airport. I'd never seen a palm tree in my life, and I show up in this beautiful campus. And so that was really the start of it. And there really was an entrepreneurial spirit in the Silicon Valley back then. Startup companies all over the place, and it was almost kind of you're just surrounded by people with creative ideas, and it's certainly accelerated so much more so from there. I actually started a company when I was in college. To make money, I graded math papers, and I used that money and I invested in stock options because I didn't have enough money to buy stocks. And stock options, you can control a lot of stock with little dollars, and got really good at it. Ended up getting an internship at Merrill Lynch, and I would get data for all the brokers, and it just dawned on me, how inefficient is this? There's no computers. It's me trying to figure out when the brokers would say, give me the stocks that have high dividend yields, or give me the stock that have low price earnings ratio. shouldn't there be a way to do this with computer software? But there wasn't much of a thing for that. Microsoft didn't go public until 1983, and this is back, around 1979 or 1980. So with some friends, ended up with a partnership with this little company called Apple Computer that gave us some computers that didn't work, and got some smart computer science guys from Stanford, and we started a little company. Ended up deciding to go to business school because I didn't want to take that much risk in my career of a company with very little revenues. My kids tell me today I was stupid. I could have been one of the starters of Apple Computer with all of that, but I guess it worked out okay. But it was that kind of mindset to take some risks and do some things differently. I didn't work. I went right to business school. That's unusual. There were only, I think, 4 in my class at Wharton that didn't have work experience, but I was in a rush to get to Wall Street then. You needed an MBA. I hate to say it, I didn't learn too much at my MBA because I was undergraduate so focused on finance and markets and accounting, which is really important to have the basics in accounting, that I had a lot of the skills, but to get on Wall Street, I needed to punch that ticket, as an MBA. And real quickly, I was kind of brainwashed. Goldman Sachs, that's the best firm. I couldn't get an interview. I was at a New Jersey Devils hockey game, and sitting there was the CEO, John Whitehead, and he was sitting next to Yogi Berra, for you baseball fans, and Joe Morgan, who was second baseman of the Cincinnati Reds. And I just went up to him and said, I'm trying to get a summer job. And he said, slide over, Yogi. Doug, I introduced myself. Do you want a hot dog and a beer? I'm sitting in between the 2 most diametrically opposed individuals on the planet, Yogi Berra, if you heard some yogi-isms, and John Whitehead, this kind of straight-laced Wall Street guy. And he said, come to my office on Monday, and got interviews. And they said, the only thing we have left for a summer job are municipal bonds or pipelines and utilities. I didn't know the difference. Flipped a coin, pipelines and utilities. And so this is 1983. And I've never left. It just kind of dawned on me that electricity is never going away. And my friends were all running to whatever's the fad is, the tech sector or whatever was hot. And nobody wanted to do electricity. They viewed it boring. They would kind of look at me like a second-class citizen. Oh, you're doing utilities. But there's 3,000 of them in the country. I worked really hard. I learned everything possible about it. And, lo and behold, maybe 15 years later, the sector deregulated. The United States was going through a wave of deregulation. Telecommunications, airlines, banks, and insurance companies. It was the turn for electricity to get competitive, to try to bring prices down for consumers. And utilities were required to divest power plants. So I convinced Goldman that, hey, we know how to manage risk. Electricity there's going to be more electricity changing hands, traded every day than oil and gas together. It's the only commodity that can't be stored. We can get to that later, the physical nature of it. It can't be stored. So we have the skills to do it. I convinced Goldman to start buying power plants. We bought most of the power plants in New York City. And by 2005, I said, I think I don't really need Goldman. I know what I'm doing. I have relationships. We'll get into how important relationships are. And I went out and started a private equity firm. And I'll pause there. We can get into all of that, but it's been a wild ride of raising money around the world. I spend my time in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and Abu Dhabi and Beijing and Seoul, Korea and Australia and every state pension in the United States to raise money so that I can invest on their behalf. But let me pause there. That's a little smattering of some of my background and what I'm doing today.